Hi everyone, it's me, Faith Brynels. Welcome back to another episode of Faith Brynels Insights. Without further ado, let's get stuck in. Okay, so let's talk about the importance of organization and time management. That's why we're here. That's why we're listening today. So let's get stuck into it. So basically, I went back to London. I'm now in semester 2 of my second year. I'm doing 5 modules this semester. People ask me why. Basically, that's just how it's turned out to be. I trust God. God's in control. I'm not going to worry about it because I know it will go well. But yeah, so I am quite busy, but I thought, let me just record an episode summarizing and talking to you all about the importance of organization and of time management. Now, these are two notions, two concepts, two phenomena that I am really, interested in, and, I'm interested in exploring them to see, the real importance of them as well. Let's kick off the episode with a brief introduction as to who I am, why we're here, how you can get involved, how you can stay tuned, and things like that. So hi everybody, I'm Faith Brynels. Faith Brynels is my first name. Pommel is my surname. Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing well. I hope that your month has been very productive, that it's been very enjoyable as well, that you've all been staying safe and adhering to the relevant guidelines. I hope that for those who were studying, for those who had exams, that they went well. I hope that everything else is going well for you. And for any of those who experienced any loss recently due to COVID-19 or anything else, I'm really sorry for your loss, and I hope that you will be comforted at this time, having experienced a loss myself recently. So yeah, let's get stuck into now. Let's set the scene and talk about let's define these terms. So what is time management? What is organization? And why is it important? And that's what we will be talking about now. So time management, is defined as, and I used a website called Mind Tools here, so let me just reference them appropriately. Basically, time management is the process of organizing and planning how to divide your time between different activities. Now, Mind Tools clearly state, if you get it right, you end up working smarter, not harder, which is a distinction we will be making in this episode today, to get more done in less time. Even when time is tight and your pressures are high, the highest achievers manage their time exceptionally well. So let's kind of just rewind a bit. Let's kind of break this definition down step by step, word by word, and kind of think about what it actually means. So we start off by talking about how time management is a process of organizing something. Now, if anybody has already noticed, hence why we are doing, hence why the episode is called The Importance of Organization and Time Management, because these are two concepts that coincide with each other. Faith Brynels, what do you mean by coincide? I just mean that they basically interlink, they are joint together, they are synonymous with each other or associated with one another. So as you can see in the definition of time management, we see here that organization is, it's synonymous or highly associated with the notion of time management. So that's basically that. Now, it's about division. It's about setting time aside for each task. Now, any form of student, anybody who has, runs a business, anybody who goes to work, everybody would have had, everybody would have had to experience basically setting time per task, right? I'm sure every single person listening right now has had to deal with some form of time management, right? Whether to eat and watch Netflix for an hour, or study for an hour, whether it be, when to go shopping, when to go for a jog, whatever it might be. These are the kind of things that you have to learn how to manage your time effectively, for. Now, if you think about the next part of the definition, it talks about get it right and you're working smarter, not harder. Now, that again is a very, very key distinction. It's a very prevalent, point here, because there is a key distinction. I'm not sure if anybody's seen it or heard about it before, but the dichotomy or a division or a kind of question between working smarter and working harder. Now, I had a guest speaker on here, Victor, shout out to him, and he talked to me about deep and shallow work. He talked about the difference between deep and shallow work. So that's a similar distinction as well, which we will delve more into in further episodes. But in this episode today, we're talking about working smarter, not harder. So we will be defining that now, talking about what it means. But then, if we read a bit more about the definition, it's getting more done in less time. That's what it really is about. Even when time is tight, right? And your pressures are high. Even if you have, assignment after assignment, deadline, submission deadline after submission deadline, even if you have case after case, it's about managing your time effectively so that you start to understand how to best use your time. Now, it also, it also ends with the caveat or the summary. The highest achievers manage their time exceptionally well. And that's why they are the high achievers, because they've figured out how to get that equilibrium, how to get that balance, but also how to use that to their own advantage. So let's now talk about it. Let's now talk about, working smarter and not working harder. So let's talk about it then. Working smarter, the difference between hard work, so working harder, and working smarter. So I want to just start off by defining hard in terms of hard work and what it means for smart work. So the notion of hard work refers to a great deal of effort or endurance. Now, the notion of smart work or working smart is basically talking about having or showing a quick-witted intelligence. Okay, so synonyms include being clever, being bright, being intelligent, sharp-witted, quick-witted, and so on and so forth. Right. So as you can see, there are slight differences because hardworking is a great deal of effort. Right. Smart is you're showing a quick-witted intelligence. Right. So that's the key difference. And according to Mind Tools, you are meant to work smarter. Right? Not harder, if that makes sense. Now, it can be quite confusing initially, but if we delve further into that, we see that we should be studying smarter, right? So what we're saying here is that it's not necessarily about revising for 4 hours, okay? Because that's really great, right? That ticks a lot of boxes, but it's about being able to revise for 4 hours. But it's about the amount of things you get done in that 4 hours, because you could do 4 hours on one essay, okay, and get 60 out of 100, for example. Or you could split your time and do 2 hours for one essay, 2 hours for another essay, and do better. Or not even do better, but get more stuff done. So that's what it's really, really talking about when it talks about hard work versus smart work. So that's a key distinction. There's actually a book by Kevin Paul called Study Smarter, Not Harder. Right, so he really champions the art or the idea of studying smarter, and that's where it really comes from as well. It's about studying smarter, not harder, working smarter, not harder. And it's talking about how he talks about here. This book was actually originally published in 1996, but it still really is relevant in today's society. It's still relevant now because he kind of captions the book, or kind of describes the book by saying that here, and this is directly from him, and I'm quoting him here. People are constantly challenged at work or school with learning new ideas and skills. Discover how you can increase your knowledge and improve your aptitude with his illuminating text. So what it's really talking about is how you can best stretch yourself to where you want to be, because I'm sure we all want the best for ourselves. We all want to do as much as we can physically do. We all want to push ourselves as hard as we physically can, because we all have goals. And that is what I'd say. When people ask me tips for time management, I always say set goals. You need a goal, you need a vision, you need an end destination. So the mantra, right, of Faith Brynels Insights is it's not an event, it's a journey. Right? It's not going to happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week, but if you keep working at it, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute and second by second, step by step, you will get there eventually. And that's the crux of the argument. Now, if we revert back to studying smarter and not harder, it's talking about that you don't have to just you don't have to push yourself until you feel physically tired for it to be good. Because don't forget, everybody works differently. And now I'm going to bring it in the term subjectivity. It's subjective. It differs according to who you are. Okay, I might study for 4 hours and be finished. You might have to study for 6 hours. Or, time aside, you might study using the Pomodoro method. I might say, I'm scrapping the Pomodoro method. I'm just going to stick with a conventional 1 hour, 10-minute break. 1 hour, 10-minute break. It's really up to you. And again, it's subjective. Why? Because it differs and it changes according to who you are. Because I can't revise the same way as my sister, maybe, because she has a different brain. She has a different thought process. She follows and subscribes to a different framework or a different guide than I do. And so I have to take that into consideration and give myself the time and, be patient and be kind to myself to figure out what works best for me. So that's really the crux of it, right? So that's really the crux of the argument, the key bit of the argument about studying smarter and not harder. Now, I was reading a really interesting and insightful article from the Learning Center at UNC. UNC stands for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And they said, the article is captioned, the article is called Studying 101, Studying Smarter, Not Harder. Now, what does it talk about here? Well, it talks about how reading is not studying. Now, I'm sure you've all heard the contested and controversial argument about how just reading a book isn't enough to get it into your mind. Again, it's subjective, but they talk about here how just reading a book isn't studying. To study something, you have to be engaging with that information. You have to be making a study guide. You have to be, teaching yourself, deriving examples, creating, mind maps or diagrams, developing symbols. You might have to be working through the problems, working through the solution, avidly trying to engage with the material in front of you. And that's that's what they mean when they say critical engagement of a text. For example, in English, I'm saying this because I did English at A-level. So critically engaging with the text is not just reading it. It's about deriving examples, deriving your opinion from the core argument. And again, now this really just confirms what I was talking about, because under this kind of guise, under the guise of reading is not studying, they then bring in the notion of organization and planning. So that really explains now as to why we have the link between time management and organization, because they really are joint at the hip, as they say. And they also kind of, go on to say that it's really important to understand the study cycle. Now, the study cycle was actually developed by Frank Christ, and it breaks down the different parts of studying. Previewing, attending class, reviewing, studying, and checking your understanding of things. So each step may seem obvious, right? So at first listen, at first read, at first glance, it might seem really obvious to really understand and fully appreciate these steps. But students, and myself included, sometimes we try to take shortcuts and we try to not give ourselves the time to revise. And then we find ourselves kind of caught in a kind of limbo, because we didn't give ourselves enough time on that topic or on that essay or on that presentation. And now we find ourselves kind of lost, right? And they give a really interesting example, because it says here, for example, you might skip a reading before class because the professor or the seminar leader or the lecturer covers the same material in class. But by doing this, you're missing a key you're missing a key opportunity to learn from, learn in different ways, different study modes, different study kind of ideas, different frameworks, and you lose that kind of experience. They also talk about how spacing out is good. Controversial, very, very controversial. So let's move on from that one, and we'll come back to that maybe. So that's what they're talking about there. That's a few things they're talking about. But I want to kind of hone in onto one specific point. Take control of your calendar and use downtime to advantage. Now, the first one, take control of your calendar, is really important, because I always tell people this really ties into organization. So in the next section, we're going to be talking about taking control of your calendar, using downtime to your advantage, and introducing the concept of organization. Okay, so as promised in the previous section, we're going to talk about the importance of organization. Now, organization is defined as an organized group of people with a particular purpose, such as a business or government department. Now, I dislike definitions where they just literally use the same word. But yeah, that's what it is really. But yeah, it's about being organized, or in colloquial terms, being on top of things. So yeah, let's go back to the UNC article, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, their learning center, where they talk about take control of your calendar. Now, this can be a digital calendar or a physical calendar. The main thing is that you take control. What does this pertain to? Well, it talks about controlling your schedule and your distractions will help you to accomplish your goals. If you are in control of your calendar, you're able to complete a wider variety of tasks. You're able to complete your assignments or your essays or your work on time. And this is really from a student's point of view. Now, they give 6 steps as to how to get control of your calendar. Step 1 is every day, on the same day each week. It could be like a Saturday or a Sunday to plan out your schedule for the week. And then step 2 is go through your class and write down what you'd like to get done for each class that week. Number 3, look at your calendar and determine how many hours you have to complete your work. That is so important because sometimes you find that time is slipping through your hands or slipping away, and you have to really grab it while it's there. Step 4 is determine whether your list can be completed in the set amount of time you have available. You have to make decisions about the reading that you have to do based on what's covered in class. Now, not every reading can be thoroughly read. It has to be a summary based on the time constraints. 5, pencil into your calendar when you plan to get the assignments done. For example, on Notion, I have a summary of the essays due. Last but definitely not least, before going to number 6, before going to bed, plan for the next day. I do this every day. I make a task list the night before. And so I wake up, I have goals. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. And before, I didn't used to do this before I had of Notion. So that will basically enhance productivity. And kind of in this in the next kind of episodes, we'll be talking about productivity as well. And then, as they say, use downtime to advantage. So beware of easy weeks. Now, what they mean by this, beware of weeks when you have less stuff to do. So being at university, there are some days where I have less to do. So on one day, I just have like one class, right? But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't do any work. It doesn't mean that I should just say, okay, less to do, so I should just go home and watch Netflix. Now, if you want to do that, that's up to you. But for me, I wouldn't do that because I'm wasting that valuable time. And I'm not judging you. I'm talking about my personal self, right? And so you have to find your own kind of balance and your own kind of strategy to, get to where you want to be. So what they're saying here is, this is the calm before the storm. So lighter work weeks are great because they allow you to get ahead on work. Or to start long projects. And now what they're suggesting is to use the extra hours to get ahead on assignments or start big projects or papers, and that you should plan to work on every class every week, even if you have nothing in. So I do like a review or a summary as to my classes, what I've covered. So I have basically a grasp or an understanding of what's happened. So that's basically that. So we've talked about study smarter, not harder, and we've really delved into it, what it is. We've given some examples of a few scholars, a few philosophers surrounding their real opinions about it. So we've kind of talked about as well why it's important, because it gets you into a routine. A routine is so imperative because you know what you're doing, where you're going to be, and how to best accomplish your goals. Now, what we're going to do I'm going to just briefly talk about the importance of vision. How I stay organized, I would term this my experience of my improved organization, and we'll finish off with the 4 Ps, and then I'll talk to you a bit about some social media stuff and how to stay tuned. So at the moment, I'm currently reading a book called The Principles and Power of Vision by Dr. Miles Monroe. It's the keys to achieving personal and corporate destiny. That's the book I'm currently reading. It's very, very interesting. And so I just wanted to briefly talk about the importance of vision, because I obviously had one of my guest speakers who really kind of placed a heavy emphasis on vision. My dad's also been a keen champion of me having a vision, setting a vision, as of my parents, I should say. They've both really shown me about having a vision. So what is vision and why is it important? Now, I'm not sure if any of you have heard of the concept of eagle vision. It basically means that an eagle has sharper vision, that they're able to see further ahead. So vision is defined as the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. Wisdom is something that we all want to try and achieve in a sense. The synonyms or similar words include imagination, creativity, creative power, incentiveness, or innovation, or the faculty or state of being able to see. That's kind of your eyesight. So it's kind of being able to see into the future. So let's talk about the importance of vision. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know as well that vision is also the Vision is also a fictional superhero appearing in Marvel. So that's let's move on. So let's talk about the importance of vision then. And why we should have one. So having a vision, according to UO people, but according to myself as well, it basically places a purpose upon your goal setting activity. So that really encompasses everything that I champion. Setting goals and having a purpose equals vision. So setting goals plus purpose equals vision. So without an end goal or destination in mind, you don't have a clear path. There's no definition of your path, right? Vision gives you this. So to achieve your vision or your goal, you can start by setting small, attainable and achievable goals, as stepping stones. So it's a step up, it's a level up, right? It has to be attainable. You don't want it to be too hard to achieve, because then you don't actually end up achieving it and you end up going backwards as opposed to forward. So that's basically brief on vision, but I will be doing another episode dedicated solely to unpicking vision, talking about the importance of it, and hopefully I'll feature a guest speaker on there as well. So and I just want to read out a quote from this book. I definitely buy this book. This is actually my dad's book, but I'm literally reading it here. So chapter 1 actually talks about vision. God has placed within each person a vision that is destined to give purpose and meaning to life. That was really, really empowering to me. And then he really delves into the notion of vision and action steps to fulfilling vision. So after every chapter, he reviews things as well. But what I loved was talking about the keys to corporate destiny and having a clear vision. And it also kind of champions, like the front of the book talks about the eagle as well. So yeah, how do I stay organized? As I said before, I never used to be really organized, but now I am organized, thank God. And I found a visible difference in terms of like my grades for one, but also in terms of like how I feel in myself going into a new week. So yeah, how do I stay organized? Number 1, Google Calendar is your friend. It's free. Set up a Google account and it's really good. I'll be doing a reel soon on that anyway, on how to use Google Calendar. Number 2, get a physical diary. I have a physical diary from Box Cleaver via Amazon. Number 2, set goals. As I said before, I set goals on Notion generically for 2000. For this year, I set my goals, but I've also set goals for like the basically set a task list every day. But I've also done the tertiary thing I've done there is I will also be making a mood board, digital mood board, 2022 mood board, or sorry, not mood board, vision board, of like a 2022 vision board summarizing everything I want to achieve. Yeah, task lists are really are your friend as well. Reading reading empowering books. I recommend this book on the principles and power of vision, keys to achieving personal and corporate destiny by Dr. Miles Monroe. I obviously, champion the word of God. I read the King James version of the Bible. That's really my source of vision and empowerment. Anything really that helps you see the vision. I also was reading Becoming by Michelle Obama. So let's now finish off by talking about the 4 Ps. So the 4 P stands for planning prevents poor performance. What it basically means is that when you don't set goals, when you don't have a coherent plan, when you don't basically, set aside time to do certain things, the outcome is poor, the quality isn't great, and it isn't basically where it's not the best that you could do. So what it's talking about here is this is something that my dad always used to tell me about. Now, there are the 4 Ps of marketing, for example, product, price, the place, etc. But I'm talking about the 4 Ps in terms of the planning prevents poor performance. This is the adage, right? This adage is, is used in project planning. And what we're talking about here is the fact that without, I was reading a really interesting article from Mimi van der Haven, talking about with proper planning, you minimize costly mistakes and avoid panic when temporary disasters strike. Now, this is really important because you can't obviously control the bad stuff that happens to you. Bad things happen to good people, but also that's just life, right? What you can do is create a coherent plan. And with proper planning, you basically are preventing the likelihood of things going wrong, in a sense that you have a backup plan, always have a contingency plan. So that's basically a summary of the 4 Ps. Now, briefly, if you've enjoyed this episode, do follow me at Faith Brynels Insights. Drop me a line, drop me a message, leave a review on your chosen podcast platform of choice. I appreciate your reviews as well. Spotify has actually released a new system whereby you can rate podcast show out of 5. So please do rate it there. feel free to follow me at Faith Brynels. That's my personal Instagram, where I basically give you tips about being a student. I'm obviously a politics student as well, so those tips will be from there. Feel free to visit my website at www.faithbrynelsinsights.com. At 500 followers on Faith Brynels Insights, there'll be a giveaway, so stay tuned for that. I've got also merch on Amazon. Just type in Faith Brynels Insights and feel free to browse through the notebooks that I've got on offer there. Yeah, let me talk a little bit about this then. So there are a few things I just want to say to everybody. So in terms of basically having a vision and setting goals, there are a few things I recommend that I would buy personally, that I have bought. So number one is a diary. So I would recommend either Box Cleaver or Lolonio Products. Lolonio Products is basically a business that does, positive resources. They also sell some books on Amazon. They have notebooks and they have diaries and they have journals. So do check them out as well. Also check out Box Cleaver. And then in terms of a book about vision, find a book from a role model. You can buy their book or you can read it digitally, which is cheaper. You can also buy a book. You can also get a book from Dr. Miles Monroe. These aren't advertisements, by the way. I'm just giving out tips and things that I would buy. But you can, even if you don't want to buy anything, you can just go online and type in some inspirational quotes, or you can read some digital books as well. You can get a free trial, I think of Kindle for 30 days. So you can read that in those 30 days. But that's literally a summary of that. So do stay tuned, everybody. Have a great day. Remember, it's not an event, it's a journey. Remember to stay safe, adhere to the relevant guidelines as well. And feel free to get in touch with me at any point as well. I'll be updating more, I'll be doing more updates about me, what I'm doing, and stuff like that as well in the next coming months and weeks and days and hours. And I'll be interviewing. I'm actually, I'll have a special announcement in my February episode titled February Update with Faith Brynels. So that's coming up very soon. So do stay tuned for that. And I've got some really fun stuff doing as well. That's going to be talked about in that episode. I'll be explicating a number of fun stuff there. So that's me. Bye-bye, everybody. Hi everyone, it's me, Faith. That was a brief, introduction to the new series, to the new kind of topic, talking about the importance of organisation and time management. I hope you're all doing well. So as I mentioned in the episode, for more information, do follow me at Faith B Insights or at Faith Brynels on Instagram. Do feel free to visit my website at www.faithbrynelsinsights.com. Once again, if you've enjoyed the episode, do drop me a follow on Instagram. Do write a review. I appreciate all of your feedback and all of your comments and all of your support, so thank you once again. Also welcome to all my new followers as part of the Faith Brynels Insights community. I value and I appreciate you all. Stay safe and do stay tuned for my February update, which will be featuring a nice announcement kind of just to kick off the month. Have a great day, stay safe, and remember, it's not an event, it's a journey. Bye-bye, everybody. All that's left for me to say is, this is your host, Faith Brynels, signing off. Bye-bye.